Today I want to do something that I've seen some other channels doing quite a lot of, and I know that a lot of their viewers, their subscribers, have been asking for detailed updates on their monthly spend, and I think we're all quite interested in what people are spending at the moment. I am very nosy about other people's expenses because I know that mine are in some aspects really low, and I'm always interested to know what other people are doing. My lifestyle is very different to those other people who I have been whose channels I have been watching, who also try and live a fairly frugal life. And sometimes it's because they're trying to save money, sometimes it's because it's just a way of life that they prefer. The difference is that most of these people have full-time jobs, but they also have much higher expenses than me. Most of them are homeowners, most of them have other sorts of expenses that they have to cover. So the way that I spend money and the way I earn money is incredibly different to most of the other people that I follow. And that's another reason why I wanted to do this, is because it is so different. At the moment, I am living on less than 9,000 a year, but I do have a reasonable stash of emergency savings, which means that any month that is short, I'm protected, because I have to be, because you cannot live on 9,000 a year if you're living in a sticks and bricks house building and you are tied to certain expenses that you can't avoid, predominantly for legal reasons. So I wanted to do this to show what my normal expenses are. I don't have what I would consider a particularly interesting life. Most of my expenses are very day to day, and it's just covering the basics. So I have my laptop just to the side here, and I'm going to use that for reference. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is rent. Now, my rent is due to go up in mid-October. I haven't had my renewal through yet. Normally it would be through by now, but they're not terribly organised at the rental agency. Because I am self-employed and I have very erratic income, and despite the level of savings, I do not pass credit checks to rent property. So when I moved in here 6 years ago, I was on a 6-month tenancy, because everybody here starts off on a 6-month tenancy, and I agreed to pay the full 6-month tenancy up front, and then they wouldn't bother with the checks because I wouldn't pass, but they were happy to have me as a tenant. And I've continued to do that. 2 years ago they put me onto yearly tenancies because they obviously decided that I was a trustworthy tenant, but they allowed me to continue on the 6 monthly payments. So I pay my rent twice a year in 6 monthly chunks in April and October. And my rent currently is £550 a month. So I pay that in 6 monthly chunks. So my next one is due to come up in October. And again, because I have the emergency savings in place, I can do that. I'll pay that 6 monthly chunk, and then I'll spend the next 6 months trying to recoup as much as possible of it back into my savings, so that I'm not, so although my savings kind of stay at the same amount of money, they go up and down, but I'm never actually saving. But if I can keep them consistent, then right now that just feels like a win, even though I'm not really able to add anything at the moment. I also spend £104 a month on council tax. I am in a Band A property, and I am also a single person living on my own, so I get the 25% discount. So that's £104 a month, and I pay that one monthly. My mobile phone, which I have with Smarty, I don't buy phones on contract. I buy a phone handset separately, and I have a rolling SIM. And I am with Smarty. I pay £18.75 per month, and that's unlimited calls, text, and unlimited data. I don't have broadband, so everything I do comes off my phone. I use 4G for everything, and I am just used to having slow internet. That's the way it is. I can do generally everything that I need to, There's never anything that I can't do. Streaming is not easy, so I don't have any TV subscriptions whatsoever, which in part because I think they're an absolute waste of money, because it's the same drivel no matter what you're watching on TV. So the phone does everything. It covers my internet, so no broadband, no subscriptions. My next expense is with Peugeot. I pay £24 a month into a scheme which covers my service and my MOT every year. So I pay £24 a month, and when I go in to have my car serviced and MOT'd every year, it pretty much covers everything. Unless it's an unusual service year where they have to do a massive oil change, or there's something unusual, or there's something on the MOT that isn't, like tyres and things, that isn't covered. But a basic good service and an MOT are completely paid for every year, so I don't have to worry about that. It also gives you 10% off parts with Peugeot when you take out this scheme, and it renews every 3 years, and that hasn't gone up since before the pandemic. They haven't raised the rates on that, which I think is fantastic. So I think it accrues something like £228 over the course of the year, and that pays for everything. And that's with Peugeot main dealer. I've stuck with them ever since I bought my car. I find it far less hassle to deal with a main dealer than I do with a local guy, and it's honestly, it's so much cheaper in my experience of having lots of second-hand cars. So that's that expense. I just need to do a quick disclaimer here because I forgot to add my other car expenses. So tax, insurance, I've had a couple of extra things this year. I've had a couple of tyres. I had to get the switch for my hazard lights on my dashboard replaced, and of course breakdown cover. I forgot to add that. Really obvious things. So the total for my car to keep my car on the road this year has been £684.97, minus the £288 I've already paid for the service and the MOT, comes to £396 for the year for all extra costs to keep my car on the road, and I will add that to the sheet as well. I pay £13.43 per month for my water. That's just gone up. I have a water meter, so I have quite a lot of control over how much I spend on water, and I ration water. I am incredibly careful with the water I use. I only use what I absolutely have to. I ration everything at home. I ration showers. I ration toilet flushes. I ration how often I do the washing up. I never ever use water from indoors to water my pots outside. I have several buckets and I collect rainwater. I will only use water from the flat if it's absolutely desperate, like in June when we had that terrible heat wave. But what I will tend to do is siphon off the grey water from my flat. So if I have a shower, I'll put the plug in the bath and decant the water, and also from my washing up, and I put that onto the plants outside, because I'm double using the water then, and it's saving me a lot of money. Having a water meter is brilliant. My rates would be a lot higher otherwise, and I'd just be using water randomly and not caring about it. Water meters are read twice a year, approximately in April and October, and then they adjust the direct debit to suit depending on my usage. Some months it might go up a little bit because I've been at home more. Sometimes it will go down if for some reason I've been away a lot more. So that's really a good thing to be able to control. My gas and electric is with a small supplier called Outfox the Market. I have been with them since I think 2018 when I left Bulb, and then I think the year after Bulb was when Bulb went under. I can't remember now, but I've been with them for a while. They've been really good as well. I've only had one direct debit rise in the last year, and I'm now paying £35.93 per month for my gas and electric. Now, what I didn't realise is that for I think about the last year, I've been getting discounted unit rates from Outfox the Market. So generally I would spend let's say about £36 a month for my gas and electric. And like my water, I ration it. I don't use anything unless I have to. I have my boiler switched off at the wall between usually March and November. I don't use hot water in the flat at all. I boil a kettle on the hob for hot water for washing up. That's the only hot water I boil. Everything else is cold water. I don't use it. Electricity is on ration. I have 2 lights in the flat which I use regularly. I have a lamp which has an LED bulb in it in my front room, and I have an LED light in the bedroom. I don't use any of the other lights in my flat. Because of the way I'm positioned, I have a street light front and a street light back. So walking around in the flat in the dark isn't actually that difficult, and I'm quite big on, sounds weird, I'm quite big on not having curtains up. So I get that light from outside for free. I only use curtains in the winter and in the bedroom on a regular basis, obviously, because sleeping is better in the dark. So that's on a massive ration. My oven I use as rarely as possible, and only when I have at least 2 things cooking at the same time in it to make the most of it. I cook gas hob mostly, and gas is still cheaper than electric at the moment, so that's quite good. I don't leave anything on standby. The only thing that's on permanently at the moment is my laptop. The battery is at the point of death, so if I don't have it plugged in, it doesn't work. I am going to be replacing the battery on my laptop later this year. I've discovered that the HP Pavilion laptops, like the one I have, you can take the back off the laptop and replace the batteries, and you can easily buy the HP batteries. They're about £35 to £40 at the moment, and I am going to do this. This laptop is only, well, I bought it in I think 2019, so it's only about 4 or 5 years old, which is ridiculous for a battery that's gone completely dead. But I will replace it because a £40 battery is a lot cheaper than paying £400 for a new laptop. So I will be doing that at some point, and then I won't have to keep charging so much. So that's the only thing that's regularly on. And I have my LED lights, which I use pence per day. They take up no time at all. My phone, my mobile, is normally plugged into my laptop because it's providing the internet for it. So I tend to charge my phone on a trickle basis through the laptop. So that covers that. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Something else I forgot to mention, because I was waffling on about how much energy I use, is that whilst I was on the discount, which I didn't know I was on for the unit rate, I have been paying about £36 a month for my gas and electric. It varies, of course, but that's what it's like now, just using the basics. In the winter last year, that went up to about £58 a month when I was actually putting the heating on, but that doesn't happen very often. What's now happened is that although I am still using the same amount of energy, I am now paying something like £46 a month. So I suspect at some point this year they are going to put my direct debit up. It's a real pain because I haven't really seen the difference in the price cap changes because I use so little energy anyway. But now with that discount ending, now is when I start to really notice the problems with my energy usage, because I'm using as little as I possibly can, and yet now I'm paying an extra £10 a month, and that's just in summer when I'm not using half as much as I will be in winter. So even if we have a mild winter, it's going to be tougher this year. It's just a nightmare. It never stops. Food. Up until 3 months ago, I was spending a little bit of money on food. Now I am doing a zero spend budget by earning income through surveys and getting gift cards for supermarkets, and also cashback apps, so I get cashback on food. So up until, say, 2.5 months ago, I was spending a little bit of money on food, and that was averaging £7 a month for food. I'm now on a zero budget, so I'm expecting my food budget to remain at £7 per month based on January to due to May time, when I was actually spending a little bit of money. I have an everything else budget, which basically covers anything that isn't food, groceries and other spending. So let me have a look. Somewhere on here I have a list of the sort of things that covers. Okay, so my everything else budget covers household non-food, so that'll be cleaning products, toilet rolls, again, all things that I am rationing. It covers medical, so any like painkillers I need, headache tablets, anything like that. It covers dental bills. Dental bills are my biggest fee of the year. I have to see a dentist every 3 months because, thanks to spending about 15 years unable to afford a dentist in my 20s and 30s, I now have ongoing issues that are costing me an absolute fortune. So my dental costs me about £370 a year. So let that be a lesson to you. There's one thing you never scrape on, or another scrimp on should I say, is dental. It'll cost you down the line, and it's one of those things that can't be easily replaced. Any presents that I buy, I try to get all the gifts for like my brother's kids and whatever through gift cards from supermarkets. Supermarkets have great card ranges now, and I always buy cards on usually Nectar Points, because Sainsbury's has a really good cards section, but I will also use Morrison's if I'm there and I have a gift card. They also have quite good clothing ranges, so for the kids where they're wearing clothes maybe for a summer and growing out of them really fast, because all my brother's kids are really young and growing really fast, I'll get that kind of thing because they're not going to get the wear out of it. There's no point in me spending good money. If I do happen to by some miracle have something resembling a social life, that also comes out of that £75. I haven't been anywhere in ages. I don't do takeaways, I don't do restaurants, I do bars because I cannot afford it right now at all. Anything I buy for the garden, so I might have to buy a pack of seeds, tomato feed, something like that, but I've been really careful and I haven't had to buy anything for a couple of years. The postage costs from personal sales, so where I've been selling personal items that I don't class as my business on eBay, so personal clothes, the postage will come out of that. And anything that's car related, so where I've had to buy 2 tyres in I think it was June, I paid for 2 tyres, that will come out of it as well. So at the moment £75 a month on average. For the year, my everything else spend is coming out at just over £900, so yeah, that equals about £75, and that will adjust as the year goes on. I've already allowed for all my dental for the year, I've allowed for my Christmas budget already, so that's coming in about £900, but that can fluctuate. Now let me have a look and see if there is anything else. So I also have business expenses. Now my business expenses change month to month. I sell on Etsy, and at the moment I'm trying not to list any new stuff. I'm trying to draw away from Etsy a little bit because it's not a good place to sell. So I haven't been paying any monthly fees for a bit, except where I actually sell things rather than just listing and nothing selling. My only other expense which stays the same is I now also have a Shopify store, and that costs me £25 per month. So that's a fairly recent addition for me. I started with Shopify in March, so that's a new monthly expense for me this year. Disclaimer number 3. I wasn't going to include business expenses here. I was going to keep this as a personal budget, but I guess it's part of everything that goes in and out of what I'm doing. So as well as that £25 a month with Shopify, and I'm not really spending anything on Etsy at the moment, I also have business insurance, which I have through Simply Business. That costs me £331.15. And although at the moment I don't currently earn enough to pay tax, I am paying my national insurance, which I have to pay, and that costs me £163 a year. So whatever the maths is on that is whatever that costs per month. I might lump all this in as business expenses, and I probably should mention that I split my phone bill of £18.75, 50% to personal and 50% to business, because it's a really hard thing to work out, and I don't have a separate business phone. The one thing I forgot to mention here is petrol. Because I live in a town where pretty much everything I need on a day-to-day basis is on my doorstep, I try not to use the car. I've got it down to, I might use it a couple of times a month for close journeys, and then once a quarter I go down to my parents', and that's where the money is lost, because that's like a 500-mile round trip. So at the moment, I think my petrol is coming in at just under £300 for the year, which is averaging about £24 per month. And that's fine. I like not having to drive places. I like to drive. I like a road trip. I love to drive. But I'm also aware that it's unnecessary expense at the moment. If I really want to do something out of town, for me, I'll drive out to the hills and do a hike. It's not a ridiculously long drive. It's only about 20 minutes. So it's not a lot, but those small journeys will add up over time. And because I'm doing those really long chunks of driving every quarter, that's where it goes. My total outgoings, just on those basics, every month comes to £877, which over the course of a year equals £10,525. As it stands at this moment in time, I am about £300 short per month, just paying those basic bills. However, with other things that are going on at the moment in terms of side hustles, new side job, which I will talk about in another video, and other possibles that are coming along, that will go, and that might entirely go this year. We'll have to see how that goes. With the new job venture that I've just started, I could be looking at only being £60 short a month, and then with the other side project, which is the clinical trials thing, if that comes off, then I think I'm going to be covered for the year and I'm going to break even. At the moment, I'm not able to put into savings. I'm seesawing money, so I borrow out, I put back in. So my savings are remaining consistent. I'm not draining them, but I'm not putting into them. If I can just keep them consistent and keep them on an even keel, that is good in my eyes. I think that's the best situation I can hope for, and at least that money is earning interest, because I put them into, I keep some as an instantly available emergency saving, but I have a savings account that's paying 5%, and I have other savings which are in fixed bonds for a year, which are in varying degrees of interest, because the way things have changed so much this year. I think my instant access savings are actually paying better than some of my fixed bonds, but this is the risk you take. So I think that pretty much covers everything that is my outgoings. This is what my life is like, in terms of social life, in terms of going out. It's just not happening. So yeah, so that's all in. £877 a month covers all my basic expenses that I need to keep a roof over my head, food on the table, all my bills paid, and keeps me legal and above board and out of debt. I do have 2 credit cards which I seesaw each month and just use as I need to, but they are all paid off at the end of each month. I don't pay anything out in interest. As I say, I don't have broadband internet at home. I don't have any subscriptions. I don't have a contract phone. I don't have a gym membership. I walk, I go outside, and I move around out there. And I think that pretty much covers it. It's really basic, it's really simple. I don't have any pets. I live on my own, so I have complete control of how much I spend on everything, which works for me. That's good for me. So yeah, that's pretty much what my month generally looks like. I suppose it's a bit depressing. It'll be depressing for those of you who are used to spending lots of money, who are used to going out a lot, who are used to doing things. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is staying out of debt and paying to be able to live. I would rather do that than blow my money on stupid stuff that I don't need and that I don't appreciate. I'm not into going on clothes spending hauls. At the moment I'm doing a no spend challenge, which I've been running since 2015, since I first moved up here, and I've been working my way through the clothes I already have, because when I moved in here I already had far too many clothes that I wasn't wearing, and that's why I've been selling some, and I'm also wearing my way through the rest. I will buy essentials if I need a new pair of shoes to replace a pair that I don't have another pair of, like I have tons of second-hand Converse, but if I need a pair of winter boots, for instance, if I need a new winter coat, if there's something else like I need new underwear, I will buy it. Some things I will buy second-hand, so coats, shoes, stuff like that, I will go onto, say, Vinted or eBay and buy from there. Some stuff I will buy new, like underwear, but I'm not a hard wearer of clothes because I work from home and I live on my own and I don't go out and do a whole lot. I'm not hard wearing on clothes. I am not interested in having the latest trends. I just like the stuff that I already have, and I get really attached to the clothes that I own and I just wear them to death. So because I'm working from home, most of the time I'm in loungewear, to be honest with you. If I'm going out for walks, I have my ex-gym gear. So I have tracksuit bottoms and hoodies and trainers, and I have walking boots, and all that stuff just lasts, and I will keep using it until it completely falls apart and I can't repair it anymore, and then it will go. Because my work is sewing and stuff like that, I can repair clothes, I can repair zips, replace buttons, sew up holes, and I will keep doing that until something becomes completely unmanageable. So I haven't spent an awful lot. I bought a new winter coat. When was it? I think it was, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, and it was a nice black puffer coat with a hood, comes down to the knees, and I paid, I think, about £9 on eBay for that one. I bought some walking boots a few years ago, which again came to about £12, I think, with the postage. They were slight second hand, sorry, and they've done me well. I've had to fix them a few times because I've worn them well, but get a good glue and you can easily stick back on a sole that comes loose, and it's fine. I don't care. I just want to keep the stuff that I already own. I like the clothes I have. I wouldn't have bought them if I didn't like them, and I want to keep them in action as long as possible. So I am really low maintenance. Because I rent my property, I don't have to pay for any repairs that come up. Everything is done by the landlord, by the tenancy agency. We get our gas and electric checks every year. If anything breaks, theoretically they will fix it. They don't fix everything, but for instance, if the boiler went wrong, or there was a water leak, or something else that was the responsibility of the landlord, that gets fixed and it doesn't cost me anything, which is one of the reasons I like rent. And it's just as well because I'd never get a mortgage. If I can't get credit clearance for renting, I sure as hell am not going to get it for a mortgage. So it's just as well that it works in my favour. Our rent is still cheap here. I don't think it's going to go up by too much when it does go up, but I think that's largely because I think that my landlord has already paid off the mortgage on this place. They built the flats and they've been up about 30 years, so I think it's all paid up. So all we're paying for is his profit margins and any rise in fees, which I think has been really low the last couple of years. My rent stayed the same for the first 4 years I was here, and then it went up by £55 last year, and I think it's going to go up by £50 this year, which is doable, I think, considering the awful stories I hear about people's rent going up at the moment, I'm not going to complain about that, and I can do that. And then when next year's budget starts again and I do my new spreadsheets, I can work out what I need to do. I do need to increase my income, I know that, and I'm working on that. I've just taken on a new job, which I will talk about in other videos, and I'm always working on other side hustles. I'm losing some income this year, I will gain some income, it'll work itself out. And as I say, keeping those emergency savings to seesaw those ins and outs is really important and means I get to stay here. Without that emergency saving, I would have lost this place probably the first year after I moved in. And I just don't want to think about that, to be honest with you. So those are my figures. I've had them here at the side so that you can see what I'm actually spending per month and what that looks like over the course of a year. So I hope that's been interesting. I'm sure there are people who are spending less than I do. If you've paid off your mortgage, you know, your expenses might be way lower than me, or you're probably paying a lot more than me because of changes in lifestyle, or just because of how many people live in your house or your flat. Don't forget, I am a single person. I'm in complete control of what I do. There's no one to blame but me if I overspend on something. So when you're making comparison figures and you have, let's say there's 2 of you in a property, or 3 or 4, divide up your figures by the number of people to work out the approximate for an individual person, and it probably won't look as scary. So I hope that's been interesting. I'm really nosy, so I really like knowing what other people are spending on things. So I hope that this might add to your list if that's your sort of thing as well. So thanks for watching. I hope it's been interesting. Do comment below if you have anything you want to say. If it's nice, I will publish it. If you post rubbish or you troll, I just won't let your comment through, because I have all my comments on moderation, because the world is full of nutters and they mostly seem to exist on social media and YouTube these days. So don't post anything stupid, because I just won't publish it and then no one will ever see it. Anyway, so that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed that. So